You're listening to the Pharmacy Podcast Network.
Hey, Pharmacy Podcast Nation. This is the host and founder of the Pharmacy Podcast Network, Todd Ure, with my favorite co-host in tow here with us today, Ken Sternfeld. What is going on? Happy Thanksgiving.
Hey, bright Pharmacy Friday. It's not, Black Friday. It's Bright Friday, right after Thanksgiving. Hope everybody had a nice holiday time.
Yes, we did something untraditional. We had our Thanksgiving last Saturday with a bunch of family members in Western Pennsylvania. And we did a bunch of Zooming with people out of Florida. That's my family down there. And so on Thursday, we actually had surf and turf. I had steak and seafood by ourselves instead of turkey.
Well, that's cool. A call out to Omaha Steaks. I sent the package to my kids up in Boston. There's my accent, because they couldn't come down and shouldn't come down and travel during these tough times. So we sent them also, not the turkey, we sent them the steaks and the, all those little trimmings and stuff like that. So a call out to Omaha Steaks. Hopefully it got there in time.
Great. So Pharmacy Land is chugging, and it's a big day for pharmacists out there working their 12 and 14-hour shifts and getting ready for the rest of this holiday season, as we're in the middle of a pandemic and we have flu season upon us. I just want to take a pause, Ken, and kind of give you the floor to give us an update as to what you're doing to help pharmacy students, but also new practicing pharmacists kind of tap in to the world that you've helped create. And it's really, it's been interesting to see it kind of grow as it has. So just take a pause and give our listeners an update.
Well, you have to change the world, Todd, because the world has changed. So the day after Thanksgiving, when I worked at CVS, was the day they turned on the holiday music. And, you got to hear all those Christmas songs and stuff. But traditionally now, we're moving this holiday, further back so that everyone can maximize their business. It's not so much that you have to listen to those same songs on your shifts all the time. But the point is, we're trying to go backwards to go forward by looking at the pharmacy students as the next generation providers that they are, and embracing them in such a way that it really makes them what we're calling concierge service providers. Because, Todd, the letters after your name and the diploma, and by the way, in the back there, as you can see, are the two things that I am most proud of and thankful for in my life, in addition to my family. It's my diploma and my license to practice as a pharmacist, because they can never take that away as long as I do what my oath is and do what I set out to do, which is to help patients. So we're reaching back to make everyone renew their vows to the profession that we love. It's a tough business, and we're not going to take airway time or YouTube time or this tube time to talk about what's wrong in our world of healthcare and pharmacy as a subset. But what's good in it? What's good in it is that everybody cares about the patient. Everybody wants to help a patient. So if we create the platform, which is right there, which is outreach, there's no stopping us. That's why I'm so excited, not about 2021 in terms of the changes with the pandemic, because it's going to be here, but how we've pivoted and adapted to a new pandemic, patient-centric world. And that's what we're doing with our students and our licensed pharmacists.
So I wanted to kind of talk about something that parlays and is parallel to what you've been working on for 6+ years. And that is the world of virtual care, and how virtual care means more today than ever because of what the pandemic has gone through. Pharmacist Andrew Hanna of Cornwall, he had taken pharmacy to what is considered the next level with the launch of patient first virtual care. This is a really interesting article, and he's launched this patient first virtual care program. And that's something that you've been working on for some time, anyway. And I'm actually going to ask Andrew to come on our show possibly next week to really talk about this. and show its parallel connections to what you've been doing and in teaching the next generation pharmacists to prepare for, which is a lot more virtual care for our patients. So it's a very interesting article, and I'll actually send this to you.
Thank you. And I think the ability to connect with the patient where he or she is right now, it's the point of care. We invested in a trademark about how we could practice as pharmacists without dispensing medications at the point of care, to help administer, to help counsel, to do all the things that give us the cognitive skills to do it. So Andrew is right on point, because he is recognized that the point of care for a patient is not in today the pharmacy, the medical office, the hospital, to the degree it was. So virtual care and outreach is something that Andrew is a leader in terms of taking his pharmacy and the pharmacy profession to the next level. So I applaud him.
We all applaud him. Hey, welcome back. Carrie Mastro has come back. So we must not have done anything wrong the last time we had her on. We must have said some good things.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Look at Carrie with the technology of Binghamton University behind her. Oh my God, she is crazy good. Look at that. Look at that. So you're right in the school, right? So you're right at school, in the classroom, in the faculty, and it says Binghamton, right?
We are representing. We're doing everything we can to mimic it, but remote, virtually. It's amazing with the technology of today. So
we got to introduce you to Andrew, because Andrew, it is about virtual outreach, and you are one of the major voices of our telepractice, our outreach for patients. So welcome. Nice to see you again.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving. I hope everybody enjoyed the day yesterday.
What are you thankful for, Carrie?
Many, many things, many blessings in life. Gosh, I mean, healthy family, everybody's, together and healthy, and immediate family together, hopefully extended family next year, but also the opportunity to, have received an awesome education and to be entering a field where I can really give back to patients. So many, many things to be thankful for. And there's so many other things, but those are among the things that come to mind. So definitely grateful.
Well said. Well said, as always.
Thank you.
I'm thankful for 2020 really teaching us to outreach to each other and gravitate towards more communications. I've been in touch with my mother and father in 2020, more so in a higher frequency than ever. And it's taught me that, I shouldn't be taking advantage of not reaching out to them more often. So I think I'm thankful that we've seen good come of something so horrible as this pandemic, that we're seeing a lot more people reaching out to others that need to be in communications with. And I think that we're learning hard lessons to set the stage for what's coming in 2021, and that's going to be able to manage healthcare better, reach out to each other, and supporting each other just from simple communications, and not forgetting to pay attention to others that may need a hello or a text or an extra phone call or something.
Todd, I take the time to speak to every happy student who comes through our door, because I want to know what their vision is for their career, because it's not one size fits all. And what we try and do is adapt to their vision. And I had a student, actually a non-traditional PharmD student. I always like to call that out, because I think those individuals show tremendous resiliency, tremendous commitment to our profession. They're licensed pharmacists, perhaps have families. I had one, our first non-traditional PharmD, Gina, had 5 children in between the time she got her license as a registered pharmacist until she went back. It's amazing. And, it took 15 years. That's a lot of time to be away from that clinical point, but she went back. But what I found from Anna, who is one of our non-traditional PharmDs on our rotation now, is when I talked about her background. Her background was in customer service for Apple. Okay, so I said, wow, there's a pretty successful company. So tell me a little bit about what you do. And she was talking to me about how that customer, that concierge approach to service and what she provided, it made me think about this concierge service providing aspect of our profession. Yes, we need more hospitality. Yes, we need more thank yous. Yes, we need more patient engagement. But it's that thank you customer service culture that I believe we all, not us, not just our company, not just the podcast network, but all of us need to say thankful. Thank you. The fact that we are here on this earth during a time when many others have lost their lives. So that customer outreach, that connecting with others just to see how they're doing, to me is what gets me motivated every morning that I get up to do that outreach and to speak to patients. And I know Carrie has mentioned already that in the short period of time she's with us, those patient engagements have really filled her with joy and emotion that really were overflowing.
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, that's one of the main things as well. I'm so grateful that, with given the current circumstances and this profession, that we have the means, we have the resources and the technology, as Todd was mentioning, to navigate this time and to stay connected with one another. And most importantly, to, perform the outreach to these patients. So we're adapting to the current situation. And I think it's really going to transform everything moving forward. But most importantly, I'm just grateful that we have the means to navigate it. And, to be a PharmD right now is definitely, or a soon to be PharmD is definitely, I just feel like now more than ever, what a time to be entering the profession. We can really make an impact. So,
Todd, well, before we come up to the break and talk about one of our valued sponsors to the RX Fusion, can you, I'm an anxious guy. I don't have much patience except for patients. But can we have this announcement or this vision of turning education into a incredibly powerful on-demand tool. And I just, every time I talk to you or look upon you, I say to myself, there is a future in our profession that this man, this genius has up his sleeve. And can I ask you just to keep giving everybody a little taste of that? Because it excites me and I'm sure it'll excite them.
Yes. Definitely talk about the coming platform to really embrace, starting with our student pharmacists, and then moving into a supplemental education and audio form for our pharmacists. And it's never to be standalone. It's always to be something that is parallel to something that you're already thinking about, learning, reading. But what we're trying to teach our pharmacists, our 300,000 pharmacists are out there, is to use your time wisely and learn from an audio perspective. I've been I cannot believe how much time I can spend in supplementing something that I wanted to know more about based on listening to it. So that platform is definitely coming. It's called AudioRX.Study. And we really haven't talked a lot about it because I don't like to release things until I think that they're prepared. But January 4th is the launch date of that platform.
It's exciting. I'm not going to, scoop anybody because, I'm sworn to secrecy and I respect that. But it is something that is so affordable. You can't afford not to do this with the subscription-based model. I was talking to my kids this morning at Pharmacy Friday, and they have a Peloton bike. And Peloton, you can't get enough of those subscription. You're watching your courses and you're taking your classes. But everybody in the world needs somebody to kind of talk to them, to mentor them, to guide them through whatever pathway they're going, whether it's up a hill or through their NAPLEX exam. So being able to, at your own pace, whether you're on a walking to school or whether you're walking in the neighborhood or whether you just have time and you're sitting around a Starbucks, the ability to learn when you want to learn and listen from your peers, not having a teacher talk to you, but someone who's been there, is there, and is your mentor. Let me tell you about this course, a student to student. is a lot different than a teacher saying, this is how you take this course. I think it's incredible. And my mother was a teacher, and I will be an educator for the rest of my life. It's in my blood. So thank you for whatever's going to happen on January 4th.
Yeah, more to come. Our sponsor today is a partner of the Pharmacy Podcast Network called CE Impact, talking about education. CE Impact drives continuing education for pharmacists, and they're having a special event on December 30th, 2020, called Get Your Year in Gear. They know that pharmacists are exhausted. These are two pharmacists that created this company. They're now 12 plus employees large, and they're just doing some amazing things, partnering with a multitude of other organizations, including buying groups, wholesalers. But I just want to give a shout out to CE Impact. We thank you for your partnership with the Pharmacy Podcast Network. Ken, we will be part of the 2021 Year in Gear, so I'll make sure to get you also signed up so that we can be part of this virtual event.
I'd love to be there, and actually, not to take away any of the tremendous value. By the way, at $149, it's crazy not to look at an investment into putting yourself in 2021 exactly where you need to be as a healthcare provider and a pharmacist. But I believe right after that, we should talk to our friends at the CE Impact about offering this through voices like Kerry and others to our students, because they're going to be so anxious about their 2021 because they're coming out maybe from ASHP and coming out from rotations, and their anxiety about where they can be. Let's help them put them in gear, because they are so critical to our profession. And I'd love to talk to the CE Impact people about that.
Absolutely. Yep. They have a student catalog, a technician catalog, the pharmacist catalog, tons of information, great continuing education. I think it's a lot of prep from what we were talking about. And I think it falls in line into the same category of what AudioRX Study will do, and helping to supplement and helping to empower our future pharmacists as well as our practicing pharmacists. So I'm excited about it.
Well, let's use that relationship for you to offer them the concierge service provider manual as an exclusive offer for CE Impact because of your relationship, because that is going to be a role that a pharmacist at any level, from a student to an old retired guy like me, would be able to do. So I'd be thrilled to work with you and CE Impact to deliver that model of certification through the leader, CE Impact. And again, just something that through this relationship, I think can benefit everyone in the pharmacy profession.
Absolutely. Let's jump into news, because I do want to talk to both you and Carrie about this. So the whole concept of pharmacy benefit management and what is a PBM is starting to really unravel. And this has always been a term, and it's been a business model that has been purposely kept from the public, meaning the pharmacy benefit managers did not and does not want our public and does not want our consumers to understand what they do. So if you get a high copay, if you are standing at the counter and you get a technician or someone checking you out of your prescription, they say that'll be $60, and you're like, wait, what is going on here? The consumer can, and Carrie, think that it's the pharmacy's issue, or they blame those costs or the changing cost or the cost of their medications, or maybe not even understanding what the cost of medications are. They blame that on the pharmacy because that's the people that are standing in front of them. Just like when you buy anything, the price of that good or the price of that service comes from who you're in front of. What's interesting is that this writer, Ron Zoller, who wrote this article through Buffalo News, and this is published on buffalonews.com, has written about the purpose of a pharmacy benefit manager. This guy is not in healthcare. He's just straight up reporter. And when I read this article, it was glaring to me that the public is finally realizing what a shell game the majority of the three biggest PBMs are, and how this is affecting our healthcare, how it's affecting safety, and how it's affecting the income that pharmacists need to be able to rely on in order to do their jobs as healthcare professionals. So I was excited to read this article from a perspective of what I call layperson, someone that's not in the industry, and how someone that is a great reporter and journalist dug into PBMs and how they cannot make heads or tails about the value of what these major three PBMs are doing, and how they're driving costs of drugs up and medications up, but it does not change the care that is being provided. As actually, we know that it's actually making the care less because they're not in front of a physical healthcare provider like a pharmacy.
Carrie first with her opinion, ladies first. It's always been my honor to respect the women that I know. And Carrie's perspective of what a PBM is doing, I think, is very valuable because she hasn't been in the business or hasn't gotten to the point where she actually feels that burn, but has a bright perspective. So Carrie, what about something like this about what a PBM is doing to the patients? What do you feel?
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, it can be difficult. As Todd mentioned, we are, as pharmacists, doing, we're dispensing care, compassion, and the medication that, itself, but it's hard to kind of, the PBM is acting as that middleman a lot of times, and the middleman in terms of we have, the pharmacy, there's insurance companies, there is the pharmaceutical manufacturer, and it's kind of a chain where the PBM is serving as one of the, middleman players. And, we fortunately are the ones that are able to have that frontline conversation with the patient. So, as pharmacists, we have a huge role in educating the patients, and it can be difficult, as Todd mentioned, it's stuff that goes on behind the scenes in terms of drug costs and how the PBM works alongside its partners to determine, driving the costs up, for example. But with patients, a lot of times, it's being able to try and educate them in a way that's giving them, the truth, but also just doing what we do best, which is we're working always on behalf of the patient. So, the PBM situation, it can be difficult. As I mentioned, we're always working on behalf of the patient, but this is something that I love to see, as Todd mentioned, when we have a perspective out there that can kind of give the patient a sense of kind of the role of the PBM and what that does, that's super important. A lot of times patients may not understand, what's going on behind the scenes. And it can be frustrating when they're there at the pharmacy to pick up a medication. And, a lot of times, sadly, patients may not be able to afford the medication. So as pharmacists, it's something that we're aware of. We know how the process works. We will never stop working on behalf of the patient, and it's how to relay the information and also find ways where patients don't try to stay positive and allow them to find sources where they can afford their medications. And that's us looking for any form of generics or coupon codes or things that we kind of can use as a kickback to help them combat these price increases. But it is something it's so important for us to be aware of, and like I mentioned, never stop working on behalf of the patient. So but Ken, I'd like to get you're the expert here. You've been in the field and you've dealt with them, I'm sure, directly. So I'm kind of preparing for that role, but we've learned in school, of course, but this is where your expertise comes in. What's your opinion?
What a setup. Oh my God. Well, I've dealt with PBMs in the stores that I worked in the management offices that I was elevated to, in the boardrooms, in the courtrooms, in all over the place. And the sad part about it is when you decide to work for the devil, you work for the devil. And PBMs are the devil. And despite the efforts of this wonderful article and the fact that it's obvious that what they do is to their own bottom line benefit, nothing will change unless a true consumer direct initiative is put in place for marketing. So my suggestion would be, is I know that we are a pharmacist benefit management company, but we're not self-serving. This is not about what we do. This is what's being done to the pharmacist on the front line the independent store owners, and the patients they serve, who are all being damaged. Many years ago, GoDaddy was someone who nobody knew in the consumer industry, and they took Donna Patrick, a woman not quite as attractive as you, Kerry, and they put her on a Super Bowl ad. Okay, and they might have spent at that time, maybe it was $2 million for that minute, but now maybe it's 10 million. But with all the money that Pisney asked for in their pack, and all the fix RXs, and the amount of money being spent for lobbyists on behalf of, were we to want to raise awareness, to create the urgency for change, it will start with consumer revolt about what comes out of their pocket. For us to talk about it in the manner we do within our industry is sadly not enough. The millions of dollars spent should be allocated to tell the patient what the truth is. We're trusted pharmacists. We're here to help you, to your point, Kerry. We work for the patient. And in that regard, you need to know that pharmacy benefit managers are not your friend. Okay? We're not looking for a political debate. We're not looking for smear campaigns. We're looking to tell the truth. Years ago, cigarettes kill you. Philip Morris went away. Well, PBMs kill you. They will only go away when consumers revolt against the fact they cannot afford their prescription medication. And it's as a result, in part, because of the collaborative terrorist activities of PBMs and the insurance companies and the big pharma, who are in cahoots to not let it change. They're not going to let it change, not in my career, sadly not in your career. So we need to go direct to the consumer with our services if needed, but with our message for sure. So Kerry, the Super Bowl is in Tampa this year. Okay, you don't have to go there because we could do it remotely. But with Todd's connections, I know he can get you on a Super Bowl ad from, if he put 5 of the major sponsors together who want to make a change in our industry, if he took all his associations who he's worked for the last 12 years, from the APHA down, you're starting from A to Z, your face and your message to the patient must be heard. Otherwise, articles that are written will be worthless in the big picture. Thank you for writing it, sir. I applaud you, and please come on the show so we can put it to 70,000 more voices. But we need to put it to 300 million voices to be heard that they can't afford their medication. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Absolutely, I agree with you. The tricks, business model itself, it all is. I think it's cracking and crumbling, and I think there's still days in play for the existing model of the 3 majors. But I think their heyday has come and gone, and I think we're going to see a much bigger opportunity for the next level PBMs, the next level benefit providers, because there is a need for it. There's a need for the middleman in some capacity, but it can't be the way it is today, which is driven. It's all about the profit. It has nothing to do with patient care, and it's frustrating to even hear them pretend when I know articles come out and they say how they're saving employers all this money, and I laugh because it's mathematically proven that that's just not the case.
Well, Todd, you know someone who has a pharmacist benefit management philosophy where it doesn't dispense any medication. Once you touch the pill, you are in the game of cost to that dispensing. If you don't touch the money, you cannot be shown as being a money-grabbing, demonic PBM. We can do what you just said. We can have a pharmacist benefit management solution that doesn't include dispensing the drug. Then it is 100% patient centric. Then it is 100% patient care. Then it is embraced by all who really care. And if the PBMs really care, they'll embrace this also and put that clinical component in. We don't want them to go away. We want transparency. We want truth. We want honest in the American way. Ta-da!
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I want to give a shout out to a future pharmacist, one of the most special future pharmacists that is doing a lot for the world of opioid usage disorder. Just yesterday, Camille Schreier was at the Macy Days Thanksgiving parade, representing obviously Miss America, representing women in leadership, and representing pharmacists because of her aspirations to become a pharmacist based on her degree in biochemistry and what she's doing. But she's been on the show twice with Dan Schneider, who's known as the pharmacist from the next Netflix special that they did, a 4-part series on Dan and the passing away, the death of his son because of the opioid epidemic. And now Camille and Dan are teamed up through a Tunnel of Hope, which is an organization about drug addiction. And Camille's just an amazing, down-to-earth, sincere leader, and I'm proud of her. And I'm definitely proud that she represents not only women in leadership roles, but also the fact that that she's a future pharmacist.
Todd, you know I love you, right? Todd, okay. You know, we talk about bringing on and introducing me to the gentleman who wrote the article, and I appreciate that. You've talked to me about dozens of times of introducing me to, others in the pharmacy profession who you want me to network with, and I do. And here you are with Camille, Miss America, and you won't introduce me to her. I'm telling you, I don't know what's up with that. Is it because Carrie is part of our team, and you think perhaps we have the most beautiful, look face of pharmacy? But not for nothing. We want more women who care. Carrie is going to actually be putting together a group of future women of pharmacy who she could talk about, because we have a meeting on Monday, first day after Thanksgiving, to embrace the philosophy of bringing women who care together as future next generation providers. And Carrie is the leader in that, because these women need to appear. They need to look at someone who they aspire to be, not a disabled 65, 66-year-old pharmacist who just talks the talk, but someone who is in the world like Carrie is to help patients. And that's something that we're very proud of. We're all kidding aside about Carrie's commitment to pay it forward to her peers. So Carrie, do you want to speak a little bit about what we're planning with that, bringing those next generation people into our world?
Absolutely. Yes. And it's something that we're really excited to do. Ken and I have been discussing and kind of planning, the process, but it's definitely, so grateful to kind of be able to reach out to also future PharmDs in my network and be able to kind of bring them in as part of our team. So, Ken and I kind of have a vision of creating a team of fellow students of mine, as well as fellow students that are currently on the API rotation with myself, and really, really be a part of assisting with some key initiatives that we have going on right now. And these are relevant topics, whether it be, involvement with clinical trial initiatives or really relevant initiatives that are key to the modern world right now. So, for example, having to do with COVID at home testing, and just kind of creating a network of leaders where we can kind of move this forward and keep shaping, our impact on outreach, our impact in this profession, and It's something that I'm super excited about. But we're actively kind of recruiting some team members right now. So we're in the recruitment phase, and also kind of planning our next steps. But really great to be kind of partnered up with Ken on this one. I think it's going to be awesome, and I really look forward to kind of forming the team with him and moving forward with a lot of key projects and key initiatives that are going to be, again, helpful to patients. I mean, we're looking to reach the patient, and today that's via telehealth in the remote setting. That's also assisting with clinical trials, which is going to shape future care and be something that's going to be huge for a lot of patients. So anywhere that we can help, we're kind of on board with that, and it's cool to kind of be forming that team of leaders with Ken right now.
Thank you, Carrie. We appreciate your efforts, which is really almost a full-time job that you're doing while you are still focusing on the most important thing of your studies, and the fact that you're looking at residency positions. Any residency program who would not accept you would be just simply foolish.
Oh, thank you, Ken.
I want to shift gears for a second and just talk about our network. We do have a special coming of the host gathering, which is going to be a big event for our listeners to be able to listen to the voices and the overviews of each of our beloved hosts who are dedicated to audio. And what we're doing with audio in 2021 is going to take this to a whole nother level. But excited on December 18th, which is a Friday during RX Fusion, we're going to be dedicating that entire 1.5 hour session to the voices of our hosts. And we're going to let them talk about their own personal and professional goals and how podcasting will be used to elevate their voices, but then the collective voices of our pharmacy profession. So very excited about this event. And Ken, you are a big part of it.
Well, it's kind of like, I haven't dated in a very long time. This month on November 23rd, it celebrated 46 years from the time I met my wife, Ronnie, at a hockey game, at a New York Islander hockey game. She was fighting in the stands. I went to break it up. No, anyway, I don't mean that. But the point is, the dating scene, this is like a match speed networking dating opportunity for anyone in the pharmacy profession to hear about 2 minutes, because all of us on this picture here, all of us have a great, compelling story. And in 2 minutes, we used to call it the quote unquote elevator pitch, in networking. If you've been in part of networking meetings, you're going to say, well, what do you do? And in 2 minutes, you should be able to enunciate that. And all of the professionals, pictured here, except that third guy, on the top of the picture, third from the left, have the ability to talk in very clear and very simple terms of what they do. I will need much more than 2 minutes, so I probably won't speak. But in that period of time, every listener, and the date again, Todd, is December 18th, right? Did you say the 8th or the 18th?
The 18th. Yep.
The 18th at 1 o'clock will give all of the listeners who dial in an opportunity to hear from what amounts to several hundred years of experience in the profession of pharmacy. I have about 112 of those myself, but spread out around the rest of the group. Seriously, there is knowledge, there is insight, and there is an opportunity for everyone to follow this holiday networking audio presentation from leading voices on the Pharmacy Podcast to move into 2021 and get yourself in gear and get yourself on a pathway for a better profession. The gentleman on the second, Bruce Kirkland, I believe, is a community pharmacist. I can't wait to meet that gentleman. Or Chloe, or of course I know Christina Madison and Tony Guerra and Madeline Aquilina. These are leaders, not future leaders, today's leaders. And I encourage everyone to sign up.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah, we're excited. We see things changing. We see the the efforts that I put in place, 12 years ago, that's finally coming to do, and it's finally making sense. It's finally interconnecting. That's kind of a shout out about resilience, and it's a shout out that if you are passionate about something that you are doing and you expect something to come from it, giving up is not it's not an option, and sometimes you have to change what you're doing to become more effective. And how many times I changed a model or I pivot the way that we would deliver information and how it even is done today. It's all changed, but it needs to stay focused. And Ken and I talked about focus before we started today's show, about how 2021 for our network is going to be laser focused on specific topics, as well as the survival of the care provider that believes in getting more from not only their career, but delivering more to our patients. So I'm excited about the event. I'm excited about what it's going to do to springboard us into the new year, and also preparing us for that audio learning platform that Ken hinted about, AudioRX Study, and how pharmacy students and pharmacists are going to get involved in driving that content and helping to develop that content.
I don't know whether the picture can show this. This is the Pharmacy Podcast pill. This is the pill for 2021. And I'm going to send this pill. I'm going to send 60 of them to Carrie Mastro so that she can send them out, or I'll send them to you. She's busy. She's got a holiday season. I'm going to send them to you. This is the pill that has no adverse drug reactions. This is the Pharmacy Podcast RX VIP stress release pill. That is something that if you want to send it out to all our hosts and then our listeners, I have a bag over here that, trade shows aren't exactly, we bought a lot of them. We don't have them. So I have all these pills around. I got to get rid of them. But anyway, I'm going to send them to you because it is about stress relief. It is about low anxiety. It is about learning in an environment through AudioRX Study to learn that we are all appies. I'm an appy learning just like Kerry is about how to offer my services, our services in the new pandemic world. And I think everyone who listens on the 18th will hear vision, optimism, hope for the future and present of our pharmacy. You don't have to wait 6 years, to start doing something to advance your career. And what you're doing, Todd, is you are providing the pill that every pharmacist should be taking. And, it's chewable also. It allows you to eat it. So anyway, I'm going to send these to you. So look for that package later in the week.
Just as a side note too, we just released our US Farmy shirt. Any of the proceeds, we've sold about 30 of these so far, which I thank you so much for everyone who has bought one. This is at US Farmy, and this is us as a unified voice in supporting our veterans. Every dollar that we raise will be sent to the Wounded Warriors Project. And once again, this is the US Farmy shirt. Designed this shirt almost a year ago and just didn't have the bandwidth of the time to actually get it going. But the campaign is live. And once again, it's US Farmy, hashtag US Farmy. We are stronger together as an industry, but we believe that we need to continue to help our most fragile of patients. And so many of our veterans who gave up their lives to serve the country are now in positions where either they are having a hard time at home, or it's a behavioral health issue. And I think the importance of pharmacists supporting our U.S. veterans is huge. So this is a statement that the Pharmacy Podcast Network is making. And we ask everyone that's in the pharmacy industry to buy a shirt and take pictures and share it on social media and drive more attention to the U.S. Farmy campaign.
Todd, I was fortunate not to ever have to serve, but I have tremendous respect for every warrior. And then the warriors are the frontline pharmacists as well. So if you will create a link for our students of pharmacy at Kerry direction and our team that she's putting together to promote this. I will match personally, Ken Sternfeld will personally match the contribution on any U.S. Farmy shirt sold through the efforts of our students, and match that towards your contribution, whatever it is, whatever you're doing, and you can tell me, and I will send you a check for all of the shirts that are sold as a result of the efforts of our students of pharmacy who care. They care. This is their future, and what you're doing to help our warriors, our wounded warriors, our pharmacy veterans, and our you know what I'm saying. Just tell me what I have to do, and I will do it.
Well, thank you. I also want to give a shout out to RX Safe, who is an adherence management platform that we talked about last, RxFusion.live, and them supporting this shirt, and also the Pharmacy Compliance Guide, which is by Jeff Hedges. He's a podcast on the network. He has also supported the shirt, and then of course CE Impact. They're all sponsors of this shirt, and we expect to have more sponsors come about. We have several others that are looking to participate. So every batch of shirts that we develop, we have to develop batches, I think, by 150 each. So every single batch, we're going to reach out for additional sponsors to become involved in sponsoring this from a pharmacy industry perspective, but then obviously, just people that care and people that understand the stresses that our veterans can experience and can go through. So thank you, Ken, for that.
You're going to make it pink, and you're going to make it for the women who care, and we're going to support it, not with putting our logo on the back of the shirt, because the logo is strong, but I want the people we inspire and Kerry's team to have this shirt to wear, and something that they'd be proud and wear, and something that is, with all due respect, something a little bit nicely styled. And I will support that along with a mask that goes along with it so that they can be safe. And then we'll take pictures, and Kerry will run that initiative. And whatever that investment is for good, Todd, you have your people call my people. And in front of, I don't know how many people on YouTube, you have my commitment to support the next patch group of t-shirts, but it's got to be a color and a design that Kerry Mastro likes. Otherwise, you ain't getting it. And last but not least, you must, this is the third request, put my picture up again. Put my picture up again, put my screen up so people see. You must send me another mug. It's 4 years, Todd. Yep. If I don't get this by Christmas or Hanukkah, all bets are off.
Okay. We'll definitely get we want to reference, just for curiosity's sake, not sure if you know the vision of this logo, but the U.S. Farmy logo, which is embedded on the same logo and background as the U.S. Army logo. So the U.S. Army made this logo about 15 years ago, called the U.S. Army. So we took that same look and built the U.S. Farmy logo because of obviously the serpent and the chalice and the pestle per se that represents. But that's the meaning behind it, and of course, it's more about the togetherness of what we can do as an industry and supporting veterans. But yes, I'll definitely get you your coffee cup.
And also, the women of pharmacy are dominating our profession, and women in the Army are also incredibly important. And again, I think this is a synergistic, powerful co-marketing initiative. I'll take the women, you take the men, and I'll meet you at the finish line. Okay.
Thank you. That's terrific. I do want to do a review. We're going to shift gears. We're going to do a review of some of our episodes that came out this week because of the importance of some of these subjects. And we ask anyone listening to go back and share and listen some of the episodes that we published this week. So the National Association of Specialty Pharmacies interviewed one of the executives at the NCPDP. And if you don't know what that is, that's the standards organization that builds the technological standards for pharmacy systems. So there are pharmacy software systems out there. There's, my goodness, I think there's 40 plus of those systems out there. And in order to have a script go through channels and make sure that it's classified with the formulary information and the NDC, the National Drug Code information, and making sure that the industry standards make sense, that's the organization. So the world of specialty pharmacy has other layers on top of it because of the sensitivity sometimes of those medications. So this is an amazingly educational interview between the National Association of Specialty Pharmacies and the Standards Organization. And Carrie, someone like yourself that's in the student level of your career, this would be an interesting high-level episode to listen to, so that you understand the background of how standards play into patient care. And then I also want to mention Flip the Pharmacy. Flip the Pharmacy is a program that's supported by a multitude of different organizations. Beyond the SIG is the program that the Pennsylvania Pharmacists Association has been a great sponsor, and they actually support the Pharmacy Podcast Network. But this one was really interesting with Brooke Kalusich, who's a third-year pharmacy student at the University of Pittsburgh. Go Pittsburgh. And pharmacy owners Deborah Bowers, as well as pharmacy owner Shara Schmidt. They talk about how the importance of transforming a pharmacy business model is more important for the communities that you serve than even the survival of the pharmacy itself, because of how fast healthcare is changing and what patients need in order to get the services that they need. So this is a really interesting episode about how CPESN, the Community Pharmacy Enhanced Services Network, is working with some of the state organizations to ensure that pharmacy continues to change as it needs to, from prescription focused to care focused and value focused. So really interesting episode. We do have FutureDose.tech that came back, and we were talking about 3D printing, which is absolutely mind-boggling to me of how that even works. But nonetheless, the guest was Dr. Alvaro Goyanis and Dr. Goyanis and David Berkowitz talk about 3D printing and how this is actually going to help to set the bar and set the standards for the drug development of the future. And drug development of the future taps into pharmacogenomics as well. And it's really interesting, but I foresee, Ken, that we'll come out with a way to formulate a specific medication someday where you won't have medication pre-made. I think you'll have medications someday, maybe even in my lifetime, where it'll be designed specifically on hand for the patient by the physician pharmacist teams, rather than pre-manufacturing of medications.
It's interesting, Todd, because the first thing that we're going to do in January, after the AudioRX Study is introduced, is welcome back the PGX for Pharmacist host and the next host, the future host of the PGX for Pharmacist podcast, because pharmacogenomics cannot get lost in the COVID world. We're going to talk about a relationship that our company is about to formalize with a company called Pharmazam. And Pharmazam will be able to screen 130,000 medications to literally make that personalized approach to dispensing that you're talking about in your lifetime. It's not necessarily only about compounding and making the medication. It's taking existing medication, and we dispense 4 billion prescriptions, and making sure that we do it at the right drug and the right dose. And I'm really interested in talking to the Future Dose people, not only from that perspective, but I saw a report early on in the pandemic where they used 3D printing to make PPE equipment here in one of the universities here on the East Coast, or more than one university. Maybe it was Fairleigh Dickinson. I'm doing this by memory. And I always look at technology as critically important, and especially since we can marry it, Todd, to the people who can use it and understand it. which are Kerry Mastro and her peers. So this is definitely a direction that I would love to be synergistically aligned on the Pharmacy Podcast Network.
Absolutely. Yep. And then Game Changers, which is the podcast done by the CE Impact team. They talk about the opioid epidemic and how we've seen a decrease in opioids being prescribed, but then there's always a action and reaction, and how gabapentin and other medications are actually getting on an increase, and how that's starting to create issues for patients that are suffering with addiction. So this is a great episode delivered to us by the CE Impact team. And Jeffrey Wall is their host. He does an amazing job. And by the way, this is the only podcast in the network right now that if you listen to and you follow the link, that you can get actual credit for. So you can still get your continuing education credit once you go through the motions. But I love this podcast. It's succinct. It's about 20 minutes, and you get some CE after listening.
Todd, you get a patient's perspective here, because I was prescribed gabapentin about 3 weeks ago because of peripheral neuropathy pain, and I don't like that drug. Okay, and the alternative was a benzo. Okay, and I don't like that drug even worse. So when you're talking about pain management and alternatives to opioids, this is truly not a game changer podcast. This is a life changer podcast. We as pharmacists must work with patients to find alternative ways to manage pain. And I absolutely believe this is a critical, important aspect of a pharmacist's role as a healthcare provider.
Absolutely. Yep. And we'll be doing more of that in 2021 as well, specifically on pain management. So one of our new podcasts that came out about 6 to 8 weeks ago is with a team, two pharmacy students, Shane Garrettson and Cal Vandergriff. They're hilarious, and this is a comedic style, but very evidence-based driven podcast, and they dig down into genetic mutations, and the curiosity that comes from these two guys is just so much fun to listen to them. If you haven't listened to Let's Pharmanize, definitely listen to this episode. They do an amazing job, and we should invite Shane and Cal to meet up with Carrie as well, because I think putting these pharmacists together is key to building new networks as well. So just want to give a shout out to Shane and Cal.
I think certainly Kerry would be a wonderful participant there, but I think they should have me on as well, because Todd, I clearly am a genetic mutation, and they could actually use me as a case study.
That's great. And then finally, I want to make an announcement to the Pharmacy Podcast Network. This is the first time that we're officially announcing this, is our partnership with CRX Magazine. This is a clinical-driven team of pharmacists and physicians who believe in delivering evidence-based information about medical cannabis and the disease states that medical cannabis will best support and drive solutions for patients that are suffering with sleep issues or pain management issues or addiction issues. So many things that are coming of this. This is an amazing opportunity for the Pharmacy Podcast Nation, because the information that we're going to pull from these researchers, these clinicians, physicians, pharmacists together is going to be terrific. So we're sunsetting our medical podcast, which was a tongue-in-cheek that we did with Joe Friedman. He's a registered pharmacist and a cannabis expert in the state of Illinois. Joe Friedman is joining the editorial team at CRX, and then we are launching the crxpodcast.com, and that will be integrated into this magazine. And once again, it will be all about medical cannabis.
Very exciting, and I'd love Joe when he settles in. I'd like him to interview Dr. Larry Good here in Lynbrook, who is doing a clinical study with CBD-infused mouthwash, which is going to be used as a COVID-19 symptomatic, remedy. So again, to Kerry's point when she was speaking earlier, our advancements into clinical studies We'll be doing things with vaccines for COVID-19 with companies in the next 2 weeks, as well as some of the CBD and alternative things. And I'd love to be involved with Joe in that introduction.
Well, that's a wrap for today's show. I want to thank Carrie for coming back. You're a beaming future barometer of the business and profession of pharmacy. I'm so excited to be involved with you, and thank you for being here. And you as well, Ken. Thank you, and you guys have a happy Thanksgiving weekend.
You too, bro.
Thank you, Todd. Take care.
What would we do without pharmacists working hard and saving lives? Checking the meds, immunize, it's not that hard to realize. We owe a big thanks to our pharmacist friends. Antihistamines make you sleepy. Methamphetamine make you hyper. Benzodiazepines relax you. It's all on Pharmacy Friday.
Brought to you by
It's all on